There'll be a curve coming in.
I like to go about right here.
Or miss altogether.
I've only done that twice. What, now you're running again?
I could go dong, 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 dong. Hey, not bad. That's pretty good.
Rich, how was that one?
Not bad.
Not bad? Who's ready to start the best hour of their week? Yes! Yes! Let's go. Ford Griggs is going to do our invocation. I feel like the mic needs to be turned up.
Please bow your heads. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you today. Ask that you bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies, us to thy service. Help us to serve the people of Grove and the businesses of Grove. We help better our community. We ask these things in your Son, Jesus Christ's name.
Thank you, Ford. Salute. Pledge. Let's have a really fast Rotary minute.
Hey, Mr. David.
Hello, Mr. Mike.
How are you, buddy? Awesome. Think we're back in football weather, though.
How's you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? Doing great, too. Yeah, I'm needing to, I got to get a hold of Art. They say I took all that choices stuff out. I repacked it and stored it out there.
Oh,
I don't know who's got the key, I guess. Yeah.
I meant to ask Just Whipper? No. Mr. Bass. Biggest bass on the in Grove.
That's right. That's right. I almost wore my big bass classic hat tonight.
That's where I'm headed here after this.
Have a good time. You taking, I think, grandkids?
I'm taking everybody.
Yeah.
On me.
Enjoy it.
I think we should have a fishing tournament this afternoon. Well, I'm headed to Dallas. Why didn't we have one this afternoon? You can cast from that side of the lake. Where's your lovely wife?
Still recovering from the shoulder replacement.
I do.
Huh?
Every once in a while.
How are you?
Had
Good.
about 7 months.
Hey, when are you gonna be back at the shop?
Oh,
she's in the oven?
See how many body parts she
I'll stop by before.
Take it.
I'll come by.
Yeah, I can get away with that when she's not here.
Well, I know. Because I have a feeling she keeps you in line.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Even when she's short a wing, she's still. I'm concerned today that she gets them both working. Catch it from the
But she's
right,
home.
catch it from the left.
She's home.
Oh yeah, she's been home. She probably, things continue, she'll be here next week.
If you want to make your way back to your seats.
Good job, Joel.
I mixed that in with the sky.
Our Sergeant at Arms today, if everybody wants to make their way back to their seats, is Carol LaRue. Wow, that's pretty good, Carol. You better not disappoint.
I won't. Okay, so this is a 5-year anniversary for the what? Pandemic. Okay, I'd like to see a show of hands of the members who have joined this club within the last 5 years. Okay, so those of you, okay, yay. So those of you with your hands raised didn't experience what we went through. I happened to be president during COVID when we had to basically shut down everything. And what I'd like to ask is, who can name 3 ways that our club adapted during COVID? You're exempt. You can't, okay. Parking lot meeting, okay. Met outside of Harbor Village. On Zoom. Okay, there's more. Yes. The meal dispersal, we were all to go, right? There was no more buffet, right?
On-site meetings.
On-site meetings, that's right, on Zoom. Robert's roving reporter, exactly. Okay. Anything else that you can remember? Oh, remember the scholarships. We handed checks in a long pole. So we didn't get too close to the kids, right? Okay. And the other thing, we had to cancel Lobster Fest that year. So we still gave away a lot of grants that year. Who can tell me, and you're exempt, Russell, from how we raised over $80,000? Yes. Stronger Together campaign. We did a Stronger Together campaign, no auctions or anything. So, okay, so the purpose of all this, and those of you who have joined, did you learn something? Yeah. And the other thing is this club retained the membership during that whole time, and I think it's something everybody should give hands for because we didn't hurt. We didn't notice. Okay. So everybody's exempt from paying the guests are exempt from paying fines. This is where we collect money for those scholarships. And fortunately, we haven't had to give them long distance. So.
Thank you, Carol. Sound like you were going to get a question, maybe. Our Rotarian of the day is Sam Grasso. Did we see Sam? Is he here? Is he back there hiding? There he is. He's got his head down. Sam, you want to say anything? No. Do you want me to bring the microphone to you? Got it. Thanks, Sam. Let's give all Sam a round of applause. Our students of the month are Joseph Wong. He's running around picking up buckets. And Hannah McCrary. They are here. Give them a round of applause. Our caterer today was Mulligan's. Let's give them a big round of applause. Somehow the food just keeps getting better and better. I noticed Jason's he's sitting over here and not helping. It's kind of weird. We have several guests with us today. With Mark Morris, we have our County Commissioner, David Poindexter. We also have Carl Tessereau. We have Kyle Longacre. And then with Lindsay Crane, we have Jennifer Donnelly and Haley Vaughn. With Tom Sanders, we have Nancy Sanders. And with myself, we have Senator Tom Woods. And if you have an announcement, make your way to the front. Nobody? Nothing's going on in Grove, Oklahoma. Nothing. It's windy. Pauline, you got something?
Lame, however. The location of the foundation board meeting has been changed. It's right after this meeting. We're meeting in the big fellowship hall instead of the usual.
Terry, did you have something? You do? No one else? Okay. You ready? Go.
Tom Sanders, would you come up here and join me, please?
You?
Rotary offers awards for different things. And one of the things they offer is service that's done by Rotary members. And for those of you who aren't aware, our board did approve an award for Tom for all his activity in both scouting and in Rotary. It's the Cliff Doctorman Award, and all of you know all the things that Tom has done for our club, but you may not be aware of all the things he's done in scouting. Tom, if you haven't been out to Lindenwood Gardens recently, built an Eagle Scout Award Memorial that has the names on bricks of all the scouts from the area in, 50 years? And Tom basically single-handedly did the organization of this, hit people up for money, hit people up for design, and it's a beautiful award. These are the bricks that have the kids' names on them. And then the other picture is the memorial that's out there. Tom has been just about everything in scouting. He's been a council director. He's had millions of kids that he's helped with their Eagle Scout awards. That may be an exaggeration. He's been in Scouts since he was 8 years old. He was on the Cherokee Area Council and chairman of the council for a number of years. He is now an emeritus member of the executive board. And so, Tom, on behalf of the club, I would like to present you with the Cliff Doctorman Award for distinguished and dedicated service to scouting and to our Rotary Club. Can somebody take a picture? I told the scout executive I'd get a picture.
Come on, brother. Get it, Shirley?
And by the way, to find out Tom's background in scouting, I did call Nancy's wife and ask her. And he asked her, well, why are you asking all these questions? And she told him, well, I'm preparing your obituary.
That's true.
So now I got it down. So.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom. I'm going to give you these two. I'm going to give you two gift certificates to the regatta. You bet. Let's give Tom another giant round of applause for all he's done. You know, Terry, I want to say a big thank you to Terry, too. Terry brought that to the board, and it was something that we jumped all over and said we wanted to do, and he handled it from start to finish. And let's give Terry a round of applause, too, for recognizing Tom. So before we jump into our program, Tom, you want to come give us a quick legislative update? I know we don't get into politics on the politics side, but just kind of an update on what he's been up to and what we're working for here. He said he wanted to come and present and kind of let everybody know. He's about halfway through session, basically. Kind of a quick update on what's going on at the Capitol and things we could maybe help with between now and the end of session. So, Tom, here you go.
Thank you, Nick. So I'm Tom Woods, Senate District 4, so the district's from Grove down to Roland, Sequoia. So the committees I sit on is Ag and Rural Affairs, Workforce, Tourism, Economic Development on Tuesday, Full Approach on Wednesday. I'm Chairman of General Government Transportation Appropriations, Vice Chair Energy, and Vice Chair of Military and Veterans Affairs. So really good committees, I think, for Grove and but for the district. With a lot of the issues we have throughout the district. It's a diverse district, and we've got a lot of tourism aspects up here, a lot of farming down in Adair County on into Sequoia, and energy across the board, and then veterans issues across the board. So I think being on those committees are really good for our district, but for Eastern Oklahoma. So, but it's truly an honor to represent District 4, and it really is just truly the greatest honor in my life to represent y'all all represent all of y'all at the Capitol. So I want you to know my door is always open. You ever have anything, call me. If I don't know, my EA doesn't know, I will get staff on it. We'll figure it out. But I know that there's a lot to try to understand. But we've had roughly 3,000 bills filed between the House and Senate. That was at the beginning in February. Now we're down to we've got 506, I believe, in the Senate and 468 in the House side. So right now, both of us are working on. We're working on the Senate floor. We've gotten about 150 off the floor. We've got 4 legislative days left to hear the rest of them. So there's 350 bills that are still subject to be heard, but more than likely won't. Some of them won't get heard because we've got 4 days starting Monday. So, and then what'll happen is both chambers will switch bills, and then we'll start hearing the House bills, and they'll start hearing our Senate bills, and they'll get vetted and go from there. But I filed 30 bills myself. I've got about 9 left that are eligible to be heard on the floor. I've got one that I'll talk about real quick that's truly become a major passion project of mine, and it's something called the senior freeze. So what it'll be is you already have a senior freeze. There was a constitutional amendment done to our Oklahoma Constitution in 1996 that said if you're 65 and you make under $25,000 a year, your ad valorem on your homestead will be frozen. And then in 2004, there was another constitutional change that said if you make 25,000 became a little hard in 2004, so they changed it in the Oklahoma Constitution to the medium household income for that county. So 77 counties, it'll be a little different per county for what the medium household income is for Delaware versus, Oklahoma County. So what my bill will do is it'll be a ballot measure. It'll be a constitutional change, and what it'll be, it'll go back to y'all, vote of the people in November of 26. But it'll be what I call a true senior freeze, meaning your millage won't be able to be increased either. It'll be a true senior freeze. So when you hit 65, if you meet the other constitutional requirements, then you will know what you're going to pay on your home for as long as you're there. And I think that's important. I think with some of the instability that we're seeing and cost of living and just some of the uncertainties when it comes to retirement incomes or people on a fixed income, I think that's become an extreme passion of mine, guaranteeing that people, once they hit 65, can have a little stability in their ad valorem tax on their home. And it's become a passion, and I'm hoping to get it on the Senate floor next week. I'm sure working hard, lobbying leadership hard to let me hear it. So, and if I get it all the way out of the Senate, it'll still be up to Oklahoma to pass it. Because it will be a constitutional amendment, so change. So I'm going to get out and campaign for it if it gets out of the Senate, and campaign for everybody to vote on it. Hopefully give it a yes vote November 26th. But that's kind of where I'm at so far, but I want to hear questions. If y'all have any questions, yes, sir, Superintendent. Well, hey, no, great question. So that argument, very valid argument. When it comes to people that are over 65 voting on ad valorem, if a county gets sued or something, the thing is, though, these people are going to be voting on a tax increase that could apply to other things that they own. They might own the donut shop or the hardware store or the gas station or the restaurant. So it's just pertaining to their homestead. So they're probably, maybe there's that argument out there that they would tend to vote a little bit more, but I would push back on that, because I'd say when somebody comes in to vote on a tax increase, they're doing it for either the good or not good of their community. I think they're really going to give it a lot of forethought. Whether it affects them 100% or not, I think they're going to come into it voting on, is it good for their community or is it not good? Because renters, whether they know it or not, if you don't own any property, you'll say, I'm not paying anymore. And they would tend to vote yes, but in reality, it'll be passed on to them through the rents they pay. So I understand your argument, but I think people will give it a lot of thought because they may own something that's not tax exempt.
It takes a certain amount of money to run every county, and when it freeze, probably 60% of all people, that means that 40% of people make good decisions, saving that higher income, all of the necessary
I wouldn't use that much, but that's an argument to be made. And the only thing is, though, is it's still subject to the county passing an increase. So, you know, if the people that doesn't qualify for the homestead exemption, they're still going to get out, they're still going to vote, they're still going to either pass it or not pass it. But what I would say overall is we know that the majority of Americans' wealth's tied up in two things. That's home ownership and the market. And the market's not been doing great the last week or so, but we're all getting a little poor. But no, I've been watching the stock market a little bit. But we know the majority of Americans' wealth's tied up in home ownership and the market. So where I think it would be a true benefit to people is the fact that keeping people in their home a little bit longer, letting the older amongst us get that equity gain and not be forced into some sort of rental property because they can't pay the taxes. I think that's where you're going to see the benefit is the rising cost of healthcare. Now you'll have someone that's gained that equity through home ownership that they can then use for end-of-life care. So I think that's why it's important. Very valid argument. And as we work through the process in the legislature, I'm sure I'll have to really have some hard numbers on that. It's a valid point. I would tend to say, though, that I'm on the side of freezing them for seniors, and I'm on the side of looking at all ad valorem. This is just a first step to what I think addressing across the board ad valorem taxes and trying to find a way that we can create some stability in our tax system at a local level, but without hurting infrastructure or public schools. Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. So that highway, I think the bids are, the process, I think we're going to start sometime this summer on it. So that project come to be through something called the Retro Fund. So there's the Retro Fund, which is a new account through ODOT, the Retro Fund. I think Cherokee Nation stepped up on it, then with some federal monies on it. But it's moving ahead. I don't know exactly the start date, but that 4-lane highway there, yeah, is going to be huge for Delaware County. But it is still in the works, and they're working through it. But I don't know the exact start date. But if you want to get my sale, I'll get someone with ODOT to give you a start date or where they're at on the bid process and working through it. But it's still good to go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tom, staying on the highway topic, on the other end of town, you've got City Road Lake. Is there any conversation at level taking up road rest way
Not to my knowledge, but I need to get your number and we'll talk about it. There's different things within ODOT. There's something called Lake and Industrial Access Money. That might be something that we could look at there, a fund applying for. But we need to just talk offline, and I'll see the project and then talk to ODOT. Not to my knowledge, but I've got $200+ million worth of projects going on in District 4. So getting the district engineer in contact with you is what I definitely need to do if there's an issue there, something you want to accomplish. I'll say this too, Representative West, Josh West's been doing a phenomenal job. He's your new floor leader, so he's vetting bills, and I do want to give him a shout out. He's doing a great job, and he's been a huge partner and asset to me as I learn. He's more seasoned than I am, a little bit older, but he's doing a great job, and he's been a huge asset to me personally. So thank y'all.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Tom. Yep, you bet. And I think he's going to stick around, so if you got any more questions, feel free, get his information, and he's always quick to respond. If you have a question or concern, he'll get right back with you. So I think our police chief, Mark Morris, needs to probably make his way up here and see how many people will call his cell phone in the next 30 seconds. Chief, are you ready? You got some big news for Delaware County?
Got some big news.
So what's that?
It's a cookie,
What kind?
macadamia nut.
Is that your favorite?
It is.
Did you already take a bite?
I did not, but I'm not going to take a bite of it.
Are you sure?
I'm sure because somebody else has already.
Who took that bite?
I would guess you.
Not me. Not me. I think somebody knows you got a sweet tooth with the macadamia nut.
I do like that, yeah.
Go, Chief.
Thank you guys for having us, and I say having us. I have with me today Kyle Longacre, who is the director of the new Delcom 911 Center. Commissioner Poindexter, who played a vital role in this, and Chief Carl Tessero, Monkey Island Fire Chief, and he is the chairman of the E911 Authority Board. So we thought it was important to come to you today and update you on this very vital, I mean, it affects each and every one of you, where we are in the transition of combining Grove's PSAP, which is their 911 center in Delaware County. Has a lot of effect on you. We're kind of going to, it's a very, very complicated process. It's been a very complicated process making the move. But we want to let you know where we're at and how it's going to benefit you as the community. I always do the final interview when we had hired dispatchers, and I do the final interview before we put them to work. And the one thing I said is this is one of the few jobs out there that you can't make a mistake. You absolutely cannot make a mistake. So if I'm having a heart attack, I call 911, and you don't get the good guys to my house to save my life, that's a problem. And it's caused me a lot of sleepless nights worrying about those kind of things. And so what's happened in the past, and I'm going to get into our agency, and then I'm going to invite Kyle and Carl up here to talk about the Delaware County side of it and then the consolidation. But that's that's a huge burden to put on someone. Is when you answer that phone, you can't make a mistake. And that's huge. And so to start off with, I would like to show a video. I think you called it a mini documentary, and it kind of gives us a little overview about the old center and the new center. So, I guess I'm doing that. Can y'all see that all right?
We were at 13,000 calls in January. That is with 3 to 4 people working. So it is a very busy center. We get a lot of calls going out, a lot of calls for service. There's a lot of people that need help. Our call volume has been going up. Looking at the calls, it was about 10% per year increase, and we're trying to make it work as best we can at the old center. But with these new facilities and these extra consoles, the ability to bring in extra call takers if we need should help decrease the call wait times. The old system, it worked, but we were forcing something that shouldn't. It wasn't designed to do it that way. There are a lot of great people doing the best job they can with what they were given, but this has been a major advancement. And again, it could not have been done without the support of the community leaders and the responders. We're going from everybody has their own channel and everybody does their own thing, and some of them have their own dispatch, to go into a countywide system with everybody on one channel for law and then one channel for fire and EMS, and they have the shared dispatch now. With the new radio system that we're getting, every responder is going to have access here on the same frequencies, so they'll be able to talk to each other. The dispatchers will have those channels as well. We're dividing out TAC channels and fireground channels so that the large incidents can have channels to talk to each other. But then the departments will be able to communicate with each other. And then as part of the project, we've also gotten a Zetron Max CAD, where we were using a system that was designed as a jail records management system, not really a CAD in any way. And it was taking the dispatchers 5-10 times the amount of work to build calls out and to put times in. And so they're doing an impossible job as it is with a software system that's not designed for it, where the CAD is expressly designed for dispatching of emergency resources, and everything is fine-tuned to make that as efficient as possible and as safe as possible for everybody. And it's going to help make the dispatchers' lives easier, but it will also help get the responders to the calls faster by being able to have a call taker build a call and send it over to the dispatcher who dispatches it out. Those kind of operations aren't possible on the current system that we have. It is a very stressful job, and employee burnout in dispatch is extremely high. So it is very hard to find people, to train people. It takes a long time to get somebody proficient to do dispatch, and you get bad calls all the time. People yelling at you, you hear things, people dying potentially. I mean, it can be very hard as a dispatcher. And if we want to do everything we can to help them, to keep them, and to make sure that when they go home that they don't take it with them when they go. They're here often more time than when they're home, than away. 12 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week up here at this location. So you have to have a place where they can vent and take a break. They may need to cook their meals here and eat their meals, and a place to just step off the floor for a second. The amount of the noise, the stress in there, it's not for everybody. We have an amazing team here. I'm very proud of them. We're getting to a point where we are not having the extreme amounts of turnover. The way of the future is the consolidating down into larger and larger PSAPs, and there are many different agencies looking at us, watching us, trying to figure out how they're going to go about it doing it themselves. And basically, we're being used as an example of how to do it properly. And a lot of that came down from the planning of the 911 board, the commissioners, and then the police chiefs, the sheriff, the fire chiefs, making this process go as smoothly as it has. We're utilizing the resources that we've been provided in the most efficient way. We're all public servants. We wouldn't do this job if we didn't care about the community that we serve. We live here, and we want to make this the best place we can to get help to the people as fast as we can and make it the best 911 center here.
So, give you a little background, and I'll speak more about Grove's Dispatch Center. I think maybe Carl and Kyle are going to talk about the South End. So, we were a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week dispatch. Our turnover rate, well, let me just say this. Our training had about an 85% failure rate. So trying to staff our center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there were multiple times where we would have 3 employees. They'd work 12, 14 hours, go home, get a couple hours sleep, come back. That's not what we want for them. It's not what we need or want for the community, because if you're working like that, you're not working to your full potential. So it was incredibly stressful. And I just randomly pulled, before I come over here today, a stat out of October of 2024, where it was just our center. We took 517 911 calls. And we had a total call volume that month of 2,189 calls. Typically, there is one dispatcher handling 911. They were also a jailer, and they're answering administrative calls and being on the radio. Dispatch for about 12 different agencies. So if you have a fire, a structure fire, that's going to include five fire departments. Each fire department's on their individual frequency. Can you imagine being a dispatcher, you're trying to make sense out of 5 different channels, frequencies, all talking at the same time. And then on top of that, we run 4 ambulances a shift. The ambulance is calling in. On top of that, the police officers out on the street are making traffic stops and running driver's license and running. I mean, it's an impossible task. It truly is. Just recently, and this isn't the first time it happened, just recently, one of our dispatchers was on a 911 call of a domestic. Well, it wasn't a domestic, a 911 call of a suicidal person. She stayed on that call, trying to talk him down. And when the deputies arrived on scene, while he still had the phone in his hand, he walked out on the front steps and shot himself and killed himself. That's the kind of things that dispatchers go through, and it's not a daily thing, but it happens way more often than what you think. So we started, and we've been discussing, I know Commissioner Poindexter and I have discussed consolidation for probably 8 years, 9 years, how to make that work. And so another example, so if you called Grove 911, if you're in our area, you called Grove 911 and you needed law enforcement and you lived out in the county, then Grove had to transfer that call to the sheriff's office. And it was just during events. We had a guy having a heart attack at Patricia Island one time, called 911. The call was made from the cell phone. It triangulated over on Monkey Island. So they sent first responders to the Shangri-La Golf Course instead of Grove. So, and that all had to do with a lot of that transferring calls back and forth. So when we talk about consolidation, a huge part of that is trying to reel that in, make sure when you call 911 that we know where that call's coming from so we can get you help right now. So we started down that road. Again, in our dispatch center, turnover rate was crazy. So it was a domino effect. We might have a staff of 6, and then one would quit, which doubled the work on the other ones. And then the next one would get frustrated because they're overwhelmed, and that one would quit, and we'd be down to 2 or 3 trying to cover 24 hours, 7 days a week. It just wasn't a good system. It just wasn't working. And so we decided to go into consolidation with the county. So part of that too, we have to make some sacrifices. Because we can't afford, as a city, we can't afford to fund the 911 center in J and also have staff at our department 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not feasible. So what we've done in our lobby is there's a phone. If you walk into our lobby, so essentially we closed our lobby down Monday through Friday. It's open till midnight, from midnight until I come in about 6:30 in the morning. There's nobody there to receive people. And that was a big deal for a lot of people, and I get that and I understand that. But what I try to explain to them is if that dispatcher is sitting in our building and you come in there and need help, they have to get on the radio and summons an officer to come to the police department. They can't come outside of that building and intervene. Now, if you walk in our lobby, there's a phone dedicated with 911 to the center, and you pick up that phone, you talk to a dispatcher immediately, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to dispatch an officer to come to the police department. So it's really not a lot of change in that, except there's no one normally physically there to receive you when you walk in that door. We put a panic bar on the door of the police department, front door. So if you're in a domestic, and we've had this happen a few times in my career, but if you're in a domestic, the lady is looking for help. She runs in the police department to be safe. Nobody's there. But if this guy's chasing her, there's a bar there you can put over that door, which locks her inside that lock. She can get on the phone and we can get help to her right away. So we've tried to take some preventative measures. It's not the best situation. I wish we had somebody there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But it's just not feasible to do that. Our volunteers, they came in for a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and worked shifts and sat in on the weekends to greet people from the public. So I think it's absolutely crazy that in this county, and it's been this way until this consolidation happened, I can't talk to the deputy on my radio. I can't talk to Jay Police Department. I can't talk to the Highway Patrol. So I'll give you an example of that quickly. We get notified Jay Police Department, and this could be a worst time of the day, about 8 o'clock in the mornings in a pursuit, headed north out of Jay, headed to Grove. School traffic, people going to work, couldn't be a worse time. We know they're in pursuit, but we have no idea where they're at. We have no communications with them. I mean, we could be clearing intersections, making sure, trying to help keep people safe. We got a pursuit coming through. We could be putting out stop sticks if we know that location. We don't have any communications with them. This new system that we've moved to, that we are moving into, everybody in the county, all law enforcement is on one channel. All fire has one channel where we know what each other's doing. We're able to kind of overcome those situations. That should have been done 50 years ago. I have no idea why it ended up this way. But what a great improvement. I'm excited about what we're looking forward. This is going to happen relatively quickly. And so, Kyle, do you want to come up and talk about a little bit about, are you going to talk about financing or Okay, but you come up and talk about the challenges of the old system.
Some of the old challenge, an example here that we have is for the transferring. It is one of the worst things we can do is transfer somebody, because then you've given them all the information and they have to start the call basically from scratch, get all the information before they can send it out. So a real quick example, let's say you were on Monkey Island and you called 911, somebody's chasing you in their car. Well, you might have gotten over to Grove on the 911. Well, a deputy needs to respond out there. So they would then transfer you to Delaware County. You've got to repeat the whole story again. Delaware County gets a deputy started. They're coming from J. At that time, you're coming into Grove. So now county has to transfer you back to Grove to try to get a Grove officer. Grove officers, by the time they get notified, you're halfway through Grove and you just passed them. Well, they can't catch up to you. Well, now you're leaving Grove South. They would transfer you back to Delaware County. When you get down heading towards J, the deputy passed them already by the time they got updated to the location. You're heading, once you get to J, they transfer you down to J. J has their own dispatch. Try to get a J officer. By the time they collect all the information, get it relayed to the officers, you're now heading down to Kansas. And go all the way down to West Siloam. They had their own dispatch. There's 4 different dispatches, and none of them could talk to each other, and none of the officers could talk to each other. There's the new scenario, so in the new scenario, though, if you called 911, the correct dispatcher would hear it anywhere in the county. They would air it to the deputies. Grove PD listens in on the same channel. They now know what's going on. They're going to stage up at the city limits or something. You're coming in and the deputy doesn't get there in time. They hear every step of the way, every update coming out, and they could intercept right there at the top at the city limits. And if they don't, then there's the deputies coming in. It's a major safety issue. On the fire EMS side, many of the EMS people couldn't even talk to the fire departments that are responding. Fire departments couldn't talk to EMS. We have times 2 helicopters coming in, and dispatch doesn't know there's a helicopter coming in because nobody could talk to each other. New system with everybody able to communicate on the same channels, dedicated protocols, and then a single number to call as a citizen. You'll get one person, should never have to be transferred. If it's somewhere here in the county, any of the resources that you need that are emergency resources are dispatched out. Speaking back on the staffing, when we started here at the Sheriff's Office, they had people that were on 28 days straight, working 12-hour days. It's not feasible. It is the burnout rate, the average person, 6 months there was the most senior person that we had. We're at 25 people now, dispatchers. They have not had to work a single overtime shift that they didn't volunteer for since we've been able to take over. We have not had nearly the turnover they have been. We're holding on to them. And by getting them that experience, many of them are now over a year of experience. We've brought in quite a few that have over 10 years of experience. So if you have to call 911, you're not going to get a senior dispatcher who's experienced. And by doing it the split, by not having just one person in the room who has to answer the phone, answer the radio, and dispatch and watch the jail, there's 4 or 5 people in this room. One person takes the phone, and you are committed with that person, talking with just one person, and their attention is fully on you. They build the call, the dispatchers then dispatch it out. So the dispatchers are one-on-one with the officers. They have their full attention, making sure they're safe, making sure all the cautions are relayed and things. And then as a citizen, though, you have one person that you're talking with their full attention. It's a much better system. With the 4 dispatch centers that we had, if you have a major wreck in downtown Grove, you're going to have 3 or 4 people calling in. Instantly, the center's overloaded. There's 911s that are pending, and it may be a different call that now they're on hold on 911 for minutes until they can get through that backlog. Having a countywide, you may have had 2 dispatchers down at Delaware County that weren't busy, but the 911s in the center up in Grove was getting overwhelmed. Well, having the consolidated center, any major incident like that, we're much more able to respond and have an answer to all the 911 calls as they're coming in because we can all work together. You share the resources and get it done the way it should. It has been a long process, and I've been here about a year, and I appreciate it. We are moving forward, and we are just now weeks away from going to the new center. And as you saw in that video, it's a major improvement over the old center. We have.
Might talk about
It's not an ideal situation. It is the old jail annex building at the sheriff's office is where it is. It turned 100 years old this year, so it is a historical landmark. The kitchen is in the bathroom, right next to the toilet, and then the air intake for the air condition is there under where the kitchen and the bathroom is all together. And you could see that it's about 4 feet from the dispatch consoles. So everybody's crammed in this tiny room with the bathroom right there and the kitchen. It's not a perfect situation. News Center, we have 5 consoles. They're spread out enough that you're not going to hear this echo. Currently, if somebody's talking, if they're talking for more than about 3 seconds, you start getting a reverb just because they're so close together, and it gets to the point that responders cannot hear what's going on. All they're hearing is this radio noise in the background. News Center, spread out. There's nice sound isolations on the walls, and a much more advanced system. They should cut down on a lot of those issues. It is an NJ at the old health department behind the Senior Citizen Center. So it's not this little building right on Main Street anymore back in there.
I promise I won't be near as long-winded as these two. So kind of one of the things that I'm here to kind of explain is the timeline and the process and the funding that went into this project. So they was talking about the discussion starting 7, 8 years ago. That was roughly about 2018, I believe we figured the other day was when the discussions about this started. So in October of 2020, the commissioners found a grant that would provide a feasibility study to try to help us figure out what exactly we needed to do in the county to make this all work. So once that feasibility study grant was submitted in 2020, in February of 2021, the grant was approved by the state. That grant totaled $52,784 just for a feasibility study. So luckily, the county's share was only $10,500 of that. In June of 2021, the study began with a kickoff meeting at the Grove EOC. We got all the community leaders together to say, hey, this is what the study has come up with. This is what we need to start trying to do. Then the big question was, how do we fund this? That was the big question, because these things cost lots of money. So in November of 21, the final PSAP report was submitted, so we got to finally see what exactly they said that we needed to do, and that was to consolidate all of the dispatch centers in Delaware County into one roof, under one system, under one management, and go from there. So in January of 2022, the commissioners approved to go forward with the PSAP consolidation, with the dispatch consolidation. In September of 22, we submitted a grant to the Oklahoma State 911 Board for funding. We received a $1.3 million grant from the state 911 to help fund everything, all of the dispatch equipment inside of the building at the new 911 center. So all of the technology, all the updated consoles, things like that. That was the largest grant that the state 911 had awarded statewide at that point, and I think it still is. So the share portion of that grant for the county was $267,000. So out of $1.3 million, the county was responsible for $267,000. That's a pretty good ratio, in my opinion. So in March of 2023, the radio system was selected, and the vendor was selected for that project to build to equip the towers to give all the responders new radios in their cars and their handhelds, things like that. That cost $3.4 million. That was the big piece of that. So the way that was funded was through the COVID relief money, or the ARPA funds that the county had received. So that was we didn't like the pandemic, but it paid well. So that was really, the commissioners had come up with, this is the only way that we're gonna be able to make this consolidation happen. So in August of 2023, the demolition started at the old health department building to be able to clear that out. And that was done by volunteer firefighters. The 911 crew at the time helped. I helped. We've done the demolition of that to try to save a little bit of money. In October of 23, the construction started. August of 2024, the 911 center construction was complete. The radio system started trying to move in. This was a great project. It was a very intense project because it took a lot of coordination. And the way that we are funding this project at this time, as far as budget goes for operations, things like that, is every response agency in this county is pitching in a part. We get 911 money from your cell phones, things like that, but it's just not enough to be able to support a county this size, for sure, to support that 911 infrastructure. So all the agencies, the fire departments, EMS, police, the cities, they're all pitching in a portion to help us be able to pay the dispatchers and to pay Kyle and our 911 coordinators that are providing addresses and roads and mapping and all that thing. So it takes a lot. This was a very large project. And, Chief Moore's here. He's been right in there. He's the vice chair. He didn't mention that. He mentioned me being the chair, but he's the vice chair. So he and I have got to spend a lot of time together over the last few years helping trying to figure this out with the commissioners, and our emergency management in Delaware County has played a very big role in getting the grants because he's pretty much done the grant writing. So we don't want to leave him out on that. So, this is a great project. It's going to help our county. It's going to help our residents in this county. So we just wanted to present it, make sure y'all understood how this works and why it works. But if y'all have any questions now, Chief Morris will answer you up.
So yes, that is one of, and with the advanced training that we're getting and the consolidation, we have been able to get what's called EMD, Emergency Medical Dispatch. So when you call with a medical, as we get them trained up on it, they have a specific set of protocol questions that they're going to be asking directly related to this. And it's only possible by splitting it out, having the call taker and the dispatcher instead of needing to do it all in one. So they'll be able to ask these questions, and then there are even medications that can be administered that are approved by the emergency medical dispatch system to assist with CPR, things like that. Instead of just crossing your fingers, telling them just ambulance is on its way, good luck. We can now take those actions and proactively help you.
Yes, sir.
For artificial intelligence that's helping with this type of algorithm.
We're not using any AI currently, right, within the center. But it could. I mean, I use it almost daily now in my the office. But yeah, what about text to 911?
Text to 911 is currently not available. It's a large extra burden and cost that we weren't able to get included in this. There are programs that we have that have the AI that helped build them, but we aren't currently using any of that. There are features on there that are available later, but it's all extra costs. We're going with what is necessary and what we can do right now for sustainability. Yeah, within reason, yes, sir. And a cell phone, especially, as long as you have a good signal, we pick it up pretty quick. It's called phase 1, phase 2. There's a lot of technical parts, but yes, sir, they can get it. A landline would identify immediately of your address of where it's at. VoIP phone, same thing. Cell phones, it can take a few seconds to get that good location, but that is a feature.
Something to be aware of too, which we've dealt with at the school. So you have a voice over IP phone system, and I don't know if that's ever been addressed, but if the ECC calls 911, that would show up at, I don't know, either the middle school or the admin building. which is very concerning to me. I think we may have gotten that fixed though. If you have a critical incident, you sure want to know which, especially in the school system, which campus or which building that call's coming out of. But there's some challenges with this voice over IP, having some of those issues.
One of the things that I failed to mention just a little bit ago, speaking about the schools, is in this radio system we've built in every school in the county a channel in a zone to where they have access to the 911 via radio. I know Grove Schools has bought several radios. I don't know about the other schools. We haven't really heard from them, but we have included all of the schools in the county in this radio system where they have access to that. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It would be the same way. As long as you have a good cell signal, we would get a good location. It would give us the coordinates, and we can relay that to GRDA, Monkey Island, people with the boats. If even the locations, if you know where you're approximately at, that helps a lot. But if you have no idea, when you call in on 911, they can usually get a good location as long as you have a good signal and clear view of the sky.
Let's give them a big round. Oh, hold on. Robert Carter, after I start talking. Hold on.
Our current target date has changed several times. April 3rd, 6 a.m. is our target to move to the new center. We are already, we've done it in stages, so it's not as a major catastrophic sudden event. So we brought in Jay, then we brought in County, we brought in Grove. And so we've slowly been building it out, but our target date is April 3rd.
Yeah, so it's at the Old Health Department in Jay. If you have the opportunity to come in, Mr. Devitt, we went and toured the center recently. I think he was pretty impressed with it. Just done the ribbon cutting Monday at the new center. Commissioner Poindexter, has been a champion through this whole thing, and none of this would have happened without him. And thank you for putting me on the board. I needed something else to do, and for people to yell at me. But anyhow, if you're in Jay and you want to come look at the center, we encourage you to come do that. Especially why it's not occupied currently with dispatch. Once that happens, we won't be able to let you inside. But, so we look forward to people coming and visiting. We're good.
Awesome. Let's give them a giant round of applause. Thank you, Kyle. A lot of time and effort and sweat and tears going into that. So, Carl and Mark and Kyle and David have put a lot into that, and a lot of others. So it's an amazing facility. I went to the ribbon cutting on Monday, and it's beautiful. Ottawa County has one very similar, and so it's neat to see all these consolidations because there's a lot of issues with the 911. So I do want to say a special thank you to our Students of the Month and Superintendent Pat Dotson for being here on spring break. Let's give them a big round of applause. And let's wish them good luck tomorrow. I think competition tomorrow with robotics team. So let's all wish them good luck. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? Yes, Rich? I got that. Yeah, I'm there. You want to come tell everybody? Okay. And we're going to pick up all the tables and chairs today, since no kids are here. If everybody wants to stand for the four-way test, and all the things that we think, say, or do, is it the truth? And Rich? We are adjourned.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if at some point we're going to have an opening for that Boy Scout monument. Probably when we have the garden party out in Woods, it'll be that afternoon. But if you need a story, you need to call me because I don't think all your information you'll have from these guys are going to be. And I don't want to leave somebody out or something. So just contact me.
I will do that.
Okay.
I will do
Thank
that.
you.
Tom.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a while. We finally got it done, so it's good.
Congratulations, man.
Well, thank you.
And I'm a Life Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on my way to the Eagle, but then I got the smell of gasoline. And
Yeah, man, that's what I tell all my parents when I was, man, thank you. I knew something was up, but I didn't. My wife wanted to come to lunch with Rotary, totally off the wall. And the stuff about the obituary is true. I should have actually said some stuff so everybody would have understood. We had a lot of people help us, and we had a lot of and John, well, I mean, yeah, I did push it through, but still I had to have it.
Good to visit with you today. Yeah, thank you. Excuse me.
We'll be gone until next day.